A city based on industry, from market stalls to collieries, owners, directors and entrepreneurs. Oh, we've got all that and more. No matter how high you fly, no matter how far you go, the spotlight's on you and we call Wrexham home.
Hello everybody, Brochunol. Welcome back to the Wrexham Business Spotlight podcast. Delighted to be joined by Welsh speaker Liam Stokes-Massey, hence the little throw in at the start. Those of you who might not know Liam personally, although you are quite well known around the town, aren't you? They definitely will be familiar with your work.
Yeah,
I pretty much guarantee that. So you are the pencil craftsman. Just tell us a bit about yourself and your business.
So I'm an artist, basically. I cover various different media. That do lots of murals, painting, drawings, a bit of everything, really. I'm based in T-Pow, just down the road.
You're in the
That's it, yeah, in the Shepherd's Hut, yeah. So I've been there for, I think, maybe 7 years, 6 or 7 years. And I've been full-time self-employed as an artist for it'll be 12 years in August.
Based in T-Pow, do you get a lot of passing trade, people watching you draw? Is that good, or does it put you off sometimes?
Yeah, no, it's nice. I'll be totally honest, over the last couple of years especially, the time that I've been able to spend there is just kind of gradually got less and less, just because, like, you know, the mural work has kind of like taken off a bit, so I usually find that a lot of the time I'm working elsewhere. Yeah, but no, when I'm there, it is lovely. People are always interested to see what's going on in there and what I'm working on. People are always welcome to kind of like step in and have a chat, and I do get a few like print sales and commissions off the back of those chats. It's lovely.
Nice, yeah. I believe there's a little bit of a story to how you got into this. It started off with drawing someone's child by chance, sort of thing. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, that was my first commission. So that was 10, I think it was. But for a couple of years before that, I'd kind of started doodling a bit more. So I was always, quite good at drawing when I was a kid, and then I didn't really do anything then for a long time. And then I remember being at a mate's house when I was living in Cardiff in uni, and he was just kind of playing on something, and I spotted that he had like a pile of Transformers graphic novels, and I'm not into Transformers at all. I just kind of started like reading through them, and then I could see something about them just looked really fun to draw, so I thought, I'll give that a go, and then that's literally it. Like, since then, that's kind of what kickstarted everything. And then
it's all down to that Transformer.
Yeah, which is mad. And then what you mentioned, the drawing of the young girl, that was my first commission for a colleague that I worked at in a call centre in Cardiff. Yeah, and that was, still took a few years to kind of like take the plunge, but that was...
There's something I think people always remember, the first job they got paid for. The first time someone's paid you to do your skill is quite unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it always stays with you.
Yeah.
So did you go into lots of portraits from there? Was that what it became? Or?
Yeah, that's literally it, and that kind of became the basis or the focus of my business for the first few years, especially. So I'd be drawing anything: people's families, pets, cars, buildings, you name it. Yeah, and like what I tried to do was kind of focus on realism, so try and get it to look as much like a photograph as I could. Yeah.
And how was that work sort of coming to you? Were you advertising at that point?
It took within like a year or so, I think I'd set up a Facebook page, and I'd be sharing like my stuff regularly, and then off the back of that, you'd kind of get the odd request. And
so what sort of artwork are you specialising in now?
Like I said at the beginning, like, everything really. Like, pencil work is still my favourite, because I think that's what I'm most kind of comfortable at. I think even these days, if I get asked to do a painting, I still kind of like shudder a bit, just because I'm not as confident with that. I'm also a little bit colourblind, I think.
Okay.
So I'm not very good with.
I can imagine that's a downside for an artist.
Yeah, it's definitely made for an interesting early career. I think my wife's kind of like had to pull me pull me up on a few things where I might have drawn like brown grass or something like that,
Yeah.
or like
mixed reds and greens. That
exactly,
seems to be the common one,
which
doesn't
is
it?
like a Wrexham and Wales football, fan. It's kind of like a recipe for disaster, but it's worked out all right. And if I'm ever unsure, like, I always ask my wife. She's really supportive with it. And but like I said, like I still do, and obviously the mural work has kind of taken off a little bit.
It's for looking back from them
Drinks
early
my boat,
days
even.
to where you are now. Is there one piece of artwork that perhaps stands out that you're most proud of? Or maybe somewhere that gave you a turning point along the way or something?
I think, especially early on, I think it was probably, I did a drawing of Gareth Bale, literally on the morning of the Slovakia game in Euro 2016.
Okay, that was the first game, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I finished the drawing, legged it to the pub, and then by the time I shared it on Facebook, and by the time I got back, it just kind of like exploded. And like that whole summer was just me kind of selling prints of that. So each print was like hand painted. It was a picture of Gareth Bale doing that, but I'd left the heart empty. So I'd hand paint the Wales badge in that little heart.
So every time someone requests it, you're able to re-sketch it out?
Yeah, no. So the actual drawing itself was printed.
Okay.
So I can't remember where the original went. Actually, somebody's got that somewhere. But after that, everyone was printed. But then within the heart that Gareth Bale's doing, like I'd hand paint like a tiny little Welsh badge. But then, like, it became a thing where I'd kind of do like a little thank you business card, and I'd paint the Welsh badge on the back of that, and then on the address label on the envelope, I'd paint like a Welsh badge on that. So I think I must have painted like 600.
Is that how many went out of that, was it?
No, well, I think from memory, because I did like limited edition runs, so I think I did like 50 of each size, and then there was 3 badges for each order. So
do you ever go into a business or perhaps someone's house now and you spot that picture they've got on the wall still?
Yeah, well, I was in Size 7 the other week, and they've got a couple of prints on the wall, and it's always lovely. That it's like a bit of a pinch me type moment.
I recognise that picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you said you were working in a call centre in Cardiff. So at some point you've turned your passion of, you described it as doodling, into a full-time sort of business. Just talk us through that process for other people who may be thinking about that journey or on that journey.
So that was until 2011 in Cardiff, and then I moved to Nottingham for a year, and then came back to Wrexham in 2013. I wasn't doing it as a job at that point. So when I came back to Wrexham, I got a job in the old Co-op Bank, or the Britannia Bank, just by McDonald's. And that, to be honest, like, that wasn't really for me. So I lasted a year doing that. But at that time, it was a part-time job, so I still had time to kind of like technically, do some drawing on the side. And that kind of started to get to the point where I was like, oh, maybe I could do this. And I wasn't enjoying my job. So I think it was July 2014, I just thought, this is it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. I was lucky. I had support of like my family, and just definitely the right decision. I think.
I always, we meet a lot of people who've, on this podcast and in my day job, who've done that transition. I always think it's interesting how long people sit with that nagging thought of, maybe it's a time to go, and actually to doing it it's such a big step, isn't it? It's
I imagine it's just something that, obviously can go either way depending on what, and there's so many factors that kind of contribute to, whether it lasts or not. Like I said, I was dead lucky. I had a partner at the time who was, who's now my wife, who was really supportive. My, my immediate family were really supportive as well. So I think so. I think so. I mean, for me, it was pivotal.
And it gives you confidence that then people believe in you as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're encouraging you to go for it and not stay in the bank.
Exactly.
Give us a clue for creatives there. How do you go about pricing sort of these sort of creative jobs? When you look at that picture of Gareth Bale, for example, with art, how do you decide what that's worth?
So difficult. For as long as I've been doing it, I still struggle today. And I think, my wife still plays out with me, you should be charging more, particularly for pencil commissions, just because they take so long. but it's so hard to find that like sweet spot where you're not pricing it to the point where you're pricing most
Pricing
people
yourself
out.
out, yeah.
And obviously the opposite of that is doing it for pittance, where you know you could be working for days and getting like way less than minimum wage. So I mean, even with murals and stuff, it's a lot easier, I think. Yeah, but it's still something that I struggle with.
The reason I asked you this is I obviously work across all different industries and work with different people. Pricing is the one thing that a lot of people struggle with. In a lot of other industries, you've got direct price comparisons because, I mean, other people are doing the exact same work as you and you can see what they're charging. For you, I can't imagine that's the case because a unique piece is a unique piece and no one's created that before. So
yeah, exactly.
Understanding that value, I imagine, is difficult.
Yeah.
We advise as a mantra charge for the years, not the hours. So a piece might take you 5 hours to do, but you said you started back in, was it 2010 or something, and you've been going for 15 years. So people are paying for that value.
That's interesting. And I think that does make sense. I'll be honest, like I don't, particularly with my pencil portraiture, like I don't think I've got any quicker necessarily. I'd hope the standard has got better. Yeah, but so yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, and I'm always kind of like, I don't think I struggle with a bit of self-confidence. I don't think
it's just judging where that sweet spot is that you said about.
Yeah.
And right, I want to go on to murals because this is something that's been sort of dominating your social media for the last few years.
Definitely,
you seem to always be out on ladders and
in the middle of winter normally.
Yeah. So just talk us through the murals. What was the first one you did, and how did that one come about? Maybe.
Well, the first one was on the side of the Fat Boar.
Yeah.
In 2022, to celebrate Wales getting to the World Cup in Qatar, which was a massive deal. So that one came about through there was a football festival called Gwyl Wal Goch, the Red Wall Festival.
They did a lot of filming in Wrexham, didn't they?
Yeah. So I know Russell, one of the organisers of that festival, and he said, look, we've got a bit of a pot for the arts, basically, to help promote the festival and whatnot. Would you like to do a mural? And yeah, just bit his hand off, really. So I think like to get an opportunity like that, you'd be daft not to.
You said before you don't struggle with confidence, but how do you go from doing like an A4, A3 sketch of Gareth Bale to a huge?
Yeah, honestly, because
was that quite nerve-wracking?
Yeah, well, I ended up doing like a grid for it. So from memory, I'd drawn, I think it was like 1.5 meter squares all the way up the building, and then I had the same kind of grid on my iPad. So I basically just scaled it up. So I know, through a bit of maths, worked out the ratios of like how long a line is and stuff like that. So you can kind of tell roughly where everything's going to go. Trouble is with that one, I did it in charcoal. Okay. So I did the drawing in charcoal, and I remember one night it absolutely bucketed down, and I got there the next morning, it was gone. Like I was like that, like a whole day's work just gone. So I use paint now.
But the grid is interesting because I think on the first couple I saw, scale was a bit I couldn't understand. I think once you're up on a ladder and you can't quite see the whole wall, how do you know how big certain bits should be? Yeah. And then I saw later you started putting words and numbers all over walls. Yeah. It's like a bit of a blank canvas.
Yeah, that's something that I only kind of discovered like fairly recently, I guess. The first mural that we did on the public art trail was done by a company called Murals, of a miner on the Avow building in town.
Budgie in the cage.
So those guys are like, to me anyway, they're like the creme de la creme. They're like, I've followed them for a long time. So to have them involved was really special. But yeah, so Josh, who was the artist who did that mural, he did what you mentioned. It's called a doodle grid. So you just fill the whole wall with letters, numbers, anything at all. It doesn't matter. There's no kind of like secret code or anything like that. And then once you've filled the wall, you step back and you take a photo of it. And then whatever image you're planning on painting, you just, using your iPad or whatever, you just overlay it on top of the image of the wall, so you can tell where all the lines intersect with the letters. So you know that his nose touches that L and whatnot. So it's basically a much more efficient grid instead of like meticulously measuring all these like straight lines and making sure everything's
So it's allowing you to sort of blow the iPad image up onto the big scale.
Exactly.
So that first one you did, for example, is on the fat boar.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any sort of economic upturn for those businesses, like to drive tourists to fat boar because they want to see it, that sort of thing?
I'd hope so. I mean, I've seen countless images of people visiting that mural, and a lot of the murals actually, not just by myself, by other artists as well. So I think they do or can offer like a bit of a boost in that way. It's certainly a driver of footfall.
Yeah, and we had Wayne on the podcast and he talked about how many American tourists come to the turf and perhaps don't venture into town. This is perhaps giving them a reason to get further out and see more of what Wrexham's got to offer, isn't it? Yeah,
to be honest, that was kind of the idea behind doing the public art trail. So it was actually Amy from the town centre team who, I think she might have mentioned it first years ago with that in mind, basically like attracting people in, come into the town.
Like a trail of breadcrumbs.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. And then, the hope is that people can follow the trail, but also learn a bit about the history of the town or the city.
And use the local retailers and hospitality outlets while they're here.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. I'd imagine there is economic benefits because does seem to be a big city thing, doesn't it? I know Liverpool have got a lot of football murals on the side of houses.
Yeah.
Paint over them when like Trent leaves and stuff.
Yeah.
I went to Cork a few weeks ago. They've got loads on all their blank walls, but they teach you to sort of research the history of the city. You see a picture, you take a photo of it and ChatGPT it, and it brings up the history, so you learn more about where you are. It is something cities are doing, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I'd always kind of go to like these cities, like in Europe and the UK, and there'd be murals everywhere, and it was always something that I thought like really, enhanced an area, in a really positive way. And I always thought like, why haven't we got any of this? And I think hopefully, you're seeing kind of like the proof of how effective they can be.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I see people sharing photos of various murals all the time. They start discussions. Like I said, they can educate people. We've got murals that cover so many facets of like the town's history. And obviously the football stuff as well. It's
It feels like your artwork is so visible and is on sort of city buildings, and it probably belongs to us all, not to you now. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that your aim really, to have everyone sort of sharing it and owning it?
Yeah, definitely. I think as soon, especially once it's finished, I think as soon as you start, it's not really yours anymore, because people are, the amount of conversations that you have, like as soon as you begin, it feels like it's something bigger than just like a piece that you're working on. Like people are like reacting to it immediately. And yeah, definitely. Like I always think I sometimes forget that I've painted some of them because they don't feel like they're mine anymore, which is quite nice. I think that it's just become part of the city now.
I guess the aim of any creative, an artist or a musician, is to share their talents with the world. So that's what you're doing with your murals, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously, if you can't tell, I think they're great. Do you get any opposition from people, local residents, perhaps? Or?
We've not had any major opposition. No, I mean like
some usual Facebook moaning that you see as a.
Well, that's inevitable, isn't it? There's you can't please everybody. I feel like I've probably got a bit carried away at times in responding to some people, which I probably shouldn't have done. But it's difficult sometimes when you've invested so much of your energy, and that other artists especially have poured everything into it, to see like the occasional comment that's really kind of dismissive and sometimes really ignorant as well. It's kind of hard not to kind of like step in and just try and put them right. But no, I mean, I've not, like, we've done nearly 30 now, and to my knowledge, none of them have been like, no one's had any big objections to any of them. 30 is
quite a surprising number, because I was trying to think before you came, and I sort of got to about 12 in my head I could think of. I'm sure there's loads that I see every day and that. 30 is a massive number, isn't it?
Massive.
How many for 30 are yours, do you know?
I think it's 7.
Okay.
I think. yeah, I really should know that. that should be something that's like really kind of at the forefront. But no, I think it's 7. Shall I try and work it out now? Okay, so there's the Paul Mullin one, Parky up at the Turf. The Wrexham is the name at the Turf.
Yeah.
I did do a tiny bit on the Crispin Lane one, but
That's around the sort of cop building site.
yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah. So the T-Pow Bramp, God, the Tailor's Quilt that I've just finished.
Where's that one?
That one's on the old commercial building next to St Giles, or like on College Street by St Giles. Yeah, I'm sure maybe it's 6 then. Yeah, they'll come to me. I'm sure there's another one. But
so you mentioned before the Love Wrexham Public Art Trail. How many of these 7 are associated with that?
All of them.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Of the 30, are most of them part of this, or all of them part of this?
Well,
some privately done by building owners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So they're all, every kind of mural and piece of public art, I think, is included. So even though it might not have been funded by the City of Culture team, it's still been included on there. So I'm not sure the exact numbers. I know that so of the total, actually 17 have been done by the City of Culture bid, and all the rest will have been privately commissioned.
Is there maybe more to come? Have we got any wall space left?
I think we've got wall space, yeah. I've not heard whether we will be getting any more funding to do any more yet, but I normally hear around like this time in the year anyway. So, but yeah, fingers crossed. We've definitely got wall space.
Do you find yourself walking around town constantly looking for suitable walls?
That's been my life for the past 2 years. Yeah, there's definitely some potential ones. There's a couple that I've got my eye on that are absolutely massive, and I think with certain things that are happening in the city centre, positive things, I think they could really marry up really well. So, yeah, we'll see. Cross that bridge.
The Love Wrexham Public Art Trail, is that an actual trail that people can follow and walk? Yeah.
So we released a booklet last year after the first phase was completed. So that included the 6 that we funded by the City of Culture team, and then various other ones as well. But obviously, in the last year or two, so many more have been done, both privately and funded by the City of Culture team as well. So we're having to do a new book. So I think that should be coming out soon, I think. So in that, there'll be information about various artists and their works, a bit of background about some of the pieces, and then a map that has, I think in total, it's 34 or 35 points of interest. So that includes murals and public art as well.
And that's presumably aimed at both local residents and the tourists we get as well.
Yeah,
to enjoy.
Definitely. Yeah, so like you said, the idea was to kind of attract people who may just visit the turf and then leave. So, like you said, you've got something to kind of come into town to see, maybe spend a bit of money on some of the businesses as well.
Hopefully, yeah. Right, let's talk about the Wrexham connection, because you feel like you're one of the integral parts of Wrexham business, of the work you've done, and you're quite well known. And your work seems quite heavily influenced nowadays in the football club and Wrexham history and Welsh history. Did you specifically choose that area, or did that area choose you because that's just what's happening in the sort of economic world we're living in here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it probably all kicked off with that Gareth Bale piece, I think. Both kind of the football aspect of it, even though I'd done like various football, like Wrexham related pieces before that. But I think with what was happening nationally and like the kind of positivity around Welshness that kind of came in the years after 2016 as well, I think it just kind of, that's what I was drawn to. No pun intended. I think that's just what attracted me.
I almost missed that one.
Yeah, no. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I think...
And it fits for their things that you're naturally interested in, isn't it? You're a football fan and you're proud to be Welsh. So.
Exactly. Yeah, a bit of both maybe.
It feels to me like this is obviously a very transformative time in Wrexham's history, and you're documenting it for us. Is that something you're aware of, or something you thought of?
I hadn't thought of it like that. It's very nice of you to say. I think, particularly obviously the football club, it's just had, I think it's had a positive knock-on effect for everything. In that sense, there is and has been for the last 5 or 6 years, like a real buoyancy, I think, about the city. And then obviously, you know, nationally as well, like, not to drag like politics into it much, but it you know, with the election that we've just had and stuff, it kind of feels like this. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's really exciting. So if you can, you know, it's just inevitable that when things like that happen, like potentially transformative things, that is reflected in the arts, like up and down the country. There'll be, you know, people who are really drawing from or inspired by what's going on. Yeah.
So it's probably therefore a nice blend that we've got sort of football art and the modern stuff, and then we've got the history art as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of blending the two a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. It's great. I mean, like, my hope is that, like, you know, because I've always, like a lot of people, I think Wales, we've never like been fulfilling like our potential, like given like our history, our culture, like mythology, like it's never been fully kind of like shouted about, I don't think. So I think when things like this happen nationally on like a political level, I think that kind of can be a Kickstarter for like really kind of being.
Yeah. And Wrexham leading the way for everyone else.
Possibly.
Yeah.
You know, at least having like a small part of it, being a small part of it, you're seeing this as like Renaissance almost. So I know, you know, I try to keep an eye on what's going on around the country, particularly with regards to murals anyway. And then, you know, there's been a massive uptick in the numbers up and down Wales over the last few years. So it's like, you know. And
do you get out and do you go and see the stuff other people's doing?
Yeah, I try to. I've not been down south, to be honest, much, apart from Cardiff. But, you know, all up and down like the north, west coast. There's loads. It's really, really good.
Are there any sort of surreal interactions or opportunities that have come about as part of this for you? This episode of the Wrexham Business Spotlight podcast is kindly sponsored by AB Accountancy, a leading local firm with offices in both Wrexham and Llangollen, passionate about supporting you and your business with their finances and tax. If you want to get in touch with AB Accountancy, there's a link to their website in this episode description.
Well, I mean, the probably one of the most surreal was I designed a logo to commemorate the 90th anniversary of the Gresford disaster a couple of years ago, which was just meant to be kind of like the logo that the miners' rescue station centre would use, but then it ended up kind of being put on the shirt for on a match day, which is that's amazing. And like some of the opportunities I've had from
was that a one-off kit they wore to commemorate the anniversary?
So like every September, or the closest game around the anniversary, they'll wear a special shirt which will have a logo commemorating the anniversary on there. Usually they go for like a miner's wheel. I think they've had the same logo, I think, for I think maybe a decade possibly. And I think because it was a big one, I was asked to kind of like make something special for it.
You got a copy of that shirt, have you?
I haven't, no, because all the shirts went to auction. They went to auction, and then all the funds raised would go to the miners' rescue. And I think, you know, some of them went for a fair few quid, which is great.
Hopefully some more murals to come you talked about, but what generally does the future look like for the pencil craftsman?
I think my instinct is telling me it's going to be more of that kind of work, to the point where I'm actually considering like getting a van. And it's you know, I've had inquiries from further afield, so it kind of makes sense to you know, invest in something like a van. So that's telling me that like chances are probably over time going to be moving away from like the smaller scale stuff and just focusing more on the big stuff. Which is very exciting.
Be out on the road.
Weeks
at a time.
That's that would be lovely.
You said before the story about you did a charcoal that washed off. How long do the murals last that you've painted? Do they need redoing at different times?
To be honest, I think that the oldest one that's still up is the Paul Mullin one, and once that was completed, I varnished it, and that looks as fresh today as it did when I finished it, and that's 3 years ago. So I imagine like half a decade to a decade away it might start looking. Excuse me.
Might go around again and.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean, who knows with that one, particularly with it being Super Paul Mullin, you know, obviously, like the guy deserves the world for what he did for us. Whether, you know, the guys at the Fat Ball want to keep it up for that period of time. They may want to refresh. So yeah, who knows? I guess that's the thing as well. Like, you know, as well as like the wear and tear from the weather and, you know, various knocks or whatnot.
Staying on trend as well, isn't it?
Exactly. So yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Right. We ask everyone the same 3 questions to finish. So, what does success look like for you?
It's to be honest, it's always just looked like if I can pay my bills, if I can, you know, live fairly comfortably, you know, not wanting for too much, then that really, and to be like, you know, so far so good. It's been all I could have imagined. And more probably.
I think you're being a bit modest there, if I'm honest.
No,
I think
but
walking around town and seeing these huge murals you've done is a huge success.
Yeah, I guess like it is. Like it is. It does feel great to have contributed to your city or your town in that way, which, you know, is hopefully lasting. You know, but like from an immediate point of view, I think like that success, like I said, if I can kind of pay my way, that's what it's always kind of been about. I always thought like if I
avoiding going back to work.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, because I never when I first started out, I would never have imagined that 12 years down the line I'd still be going, and not only still be going, you know, gradually getting better. So it's been great. Obviously, it doesn't mean that I'm not kind of like ambitious to kind of not kick on a bit. But yeah, I think that.
Cool. Right. If someone was starting a business, because lots of people watch this podcast who are sort of on the edge of starting, one piece of advice you could give someone, maybe someone in the creative space wants to follow that journey you did.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's probably something that, you know, people have said before, but it's just, if you really kind of, particularly from a creative point of view, if you invest your time into whatever skill, you know, you're doing, and like, it's just like repetition, I find. Like if you really kind of like be structured in kind of what you're doing, regularly showing people what you're up to, that's like a big factor for me. Because like, so like obviously in the age of like social media, that's pivotal. It's so vital to be visible. You know, whether that's just sharing photos or progress photos, progress videos, reels, that's kind of the way to go these days, I think. You know, I know people who probably may not do very well out of like gaining commissions and stuff like that, but their socials are so good that the revenue they get from that is, you know, it more than makes up for it. It's crazy. Okay. Like I'm 40 now and I'm only kind of like just kind of waking up to this kind of different world that we're living in. It's weird. Like I've always tried. And
it's still changing though as well. The algorithms change and what you have to do changes.
Exactly. Like I've always kind of like made an effort to share stuff, but I think I've always kind of pushed against it a bit. I've always tried to be like, you know, it's about the work. It's not about like, you know, fancy socials and, you know, doing reels, stuff like that. But like this past 6 months,
you can't avoid it, can you?
You can't avoid it, and it's
even in boring industries like mine, you can't avoid it.
Yeah, exactly, because that's kind of, you know, where customers and consumers, that's where they're looking, aren't they, these days?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say just repetition and just invest your time in what you love, and hopefully
best investment you can make in yourself.
Exactly.
Right, our final question, I always ask everyone to shine the Wrexham business spotlight back on another business. Just before I ask you, William, this is the first time it's come full circle, because one of our very first episodes was John White from Zebra Customs Design, and he shone the spotlight on you. So you really are now returning favour and shining it back onto someone else, if you don't mind. Yeah,
and before we started this interview, and you brought that question up, John was my first answer. So it's literally I'll say Rachel West is also known as the Art Bunny. She is an artist, muralist, who is based in T-Pawb as well. She's got her own shop.
Okay.
She sells various prints, original pieces, I think, and like keyrings and all sorts. She's like really talented. Yeah, she's done a couple of our murals as well. So she's done a mural that celebrates the market traders from the Old People's Market, and also one in the Argyle Archway, which celebrates the Treasures exhibition.
That's the one by the Horse and Jockey pub.
That's it, yeah. So there was a massive exhibition 150 years ago, which had like over 1,000 pieces of like artwork, historical artifacts, and it was massive, and it extended all the way down to NatWest, I think, or thereabouts, in this big steel and glass structure. And Rachel has made like a vintage style poster that advertises the.
Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to
Rachel West, the art bunny, based in T-Pow. If you go and visit her, visit you at the same time.
If I'm there, yeah.
If you're there.
Yeah, well,
Not out on the wall.
Yeah.
Well, Liam, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you, mate.
You've been on
Appreciate
my
it.
list to get on for a while because
Cool.
the stuff you're doing is fantastic, and I love seeing
Appreciate it.
So
Thanks very much.
nice to chat.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wrexham Business Spotlight podcast. Please like and hit the share button, and please leave us your comments and thoughts on any of our social media pages. See you at the next one.